In modern society, love, which should be one of the most profound and genuine emotions we can experience, has been transformed into something that can be consumed and discarded. Erich Fromm, in his seminal work, The Art of Loving, warned against the growing tendency to treat love as a commodity. He argued that when we begin to view love as something to be acquired, we reduce its complexity and depth to the level of a product that can be bought, exchanged, or sold. This commodification of love is no longer just a theoretical concern. It is something we witness in our daily lives, especially in the way we approach relationships in the digital age. Dating apps, for example, have introduced a model of love that mirrors the transactional nature of modern capitalism. The simplicity of swiping left or right, choosing or discarding potential partners with a single click, reduces love to a series of instant decisions. The promise of connection is fleeting, often leaving us with the hollow sensation of having participated in a superficial interaction. Love, in this sense, has been transformed into an object, something that we can pick up when we need it and set aside just as easily when it no longer serves us. Fromm's warning is that, in this environment, we lose the ability to cultivate the deeper, more meaningful connections that are necessary for love to flourish. But this approach to love is not just about the immediate gratification it offers. Fromm's critique goes much deeper, questioning the very nature of the relationships we form when we approach love as a commodity. When we treat love as a product to be consumed, we lose sight of its true essence as something that requires time, effort, and vulnerability. The modern obsession with instant fulfillment undermines the patience and commitment that love traditionally demands. In a world where everything is designed for convenience and speed, love risks becoming yet another thing we consume in a cycle of fleeting pleasure and emptiness. This commodified view of love is also exacerbated by the pressures of consumer culture, which constantly promotes the idea that we deserve more, that there is always something better just around the corner. We are taught to believe that our happiness and fulfillment are found in the next best thing, the next relationship, the next experience. This mentality seeps into our romantic lives, making it harder for us to form lasting connections. Instead of focusing on building a bond with someone, we find ourselves constantly searching for the ideal partner, the perfect match, as if love were a product we could simply exchange when we tire of the one we've chosen. What happens to our sense of self and our ability to truly love when we approach relationships with this mindset? Can love truly thrive in a world where we treat it like an item on a store shelf? Fromm's warning remains crucial today, as we continue to face a world where love is increasingly seen as a commodity to be consumed. The question we must ask ourselves is whether we are willing to reclaim love from the market, to rediscover its power as a force that requires patience, depth, and commitment. Only when we stop treating love as a transaction can we begin to experience its true transformative power. Love is not a product. It is a journey that requires vulnerability, effort, and, most importantly, time. In his exploration of modern life, sociologist Zygmunt Bauman introduced the concept of liquid love to describe the increasingly fragile nature of relationships in today's world. In contrast to solid, lasting bonds, Bauman observed that love in the modern era is more like liquid, constantly changing, unstable, and easily dispersed. This idea, central to his work on liquid modernity, reflects the challenges that people face in forming meaningful connections in a society that values flexibility and freedom over commitment and permanence. The rise of online dating and social media has only intensified this fluidity. Relationships are no longer grounded in stability or longevity, but rather in the pursuit of transient experiences. With just a few taps, we can connect with someone, exchange messages, and, in some cases, meet in person. But how much of that connection is real? In a world where constant novelty is offered at the swipe of a screen, there is little room for the depth of understanding and emotional intimacy that once defined love. Instead of forming lasting partnerships, many are caught in a cycle of short-lived, fleeting encounters, never quite satisfied and always searching for something or someone new. Bauman argued that in a liquid world, people are conditioned to view relationships as disposable. This mentality is reflected in our interactions. where we are more likely to invest in instant gratification rather than in building long-term emotional connections. The desire for freedom and the ability to walk away from commitments at any time creates a paradox. The more we seek freedom, the less we experience true intimacy. The very tools that were designed to help us connect, smartphones, social media, dating apps, have, in many ways, made it harder for us to truly know and understand one another. They offer convenience, but at the cost of real emotional engagement, reducing relationships to surface-level exchanges rather than genuine bonds. The fragility of love in the liquid modern world also speaks to a deeper fear of commitment. Bauman pointed out that, in a society that values individualism and personal freedom above all else, many people are reluctant to form deep, lasting connections because they fear being trapped or confined. The ideal of the perfect match, constantly projected by dating apps and the media, only exacerbates this fear. The more we romanticize the idea of a flawless partner, the harder it becomes to accept the reality of love as a messy, imperfect experience. We begin to believe that love should be effortless, a seamless connection that requires little effort or compromise. But the truth is far different. Real love demands vulnerability, compromise, and growth. This liquid approach to love creates a paradoxical situation. As relationships become more fluid and easily consumable, we also feel more alone. The search for the ideal partner, the constant pursuit of novelty, prevents us from truly connecting with others in a meaningful way. The more we engage in fleeting, surface-level relationships, the more we lose touch with what it means to truly love and be loved. Bauman's theory forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth. In a world where everything is temporary, love is often no exception. And yet, we are left wondering if this liquid love is all we are capable of, or if we are simply afraid to dive deeper. Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in psychology, believed that much of our behavior, including our choices in love, is driven by unconscious forces. According to Jung, we are not always fully aware of the reasons we are drawn to certain people, and often, our emotional experiences are shaped by unconscious patterns that stem from our past, from our family dynamics, and from the deeper layers of our psyche. When it comes to love, these unconscious forces can manifest in ways that we don't even recognize, creating a trap that can keep us locked in unhealthy or unfulfilling relationships. One of the key concepts in Jungian psychology is the idea of projection. Projection occurs when we unconsciously attribute our own thoughts, feelings, and desires onto another person. In the context of love, this often means that we fall in love with an image or idealized version of someone, rather than seeing them for who they truly are. For example, we might project our own unfulfilled needs or fantasies onto a partner, believing that they can fulfill these desires, when in reality, they are simply mirroring our own internal expectations. This can create a sense of connection that feels powerful and intense, but is ultimately based on illusion. The danger of projection in love is that it can prevent us from truly understanding our partners, and in turn, can lead to disillusionment when the reality of the relationship inevitably clashes with our idealized image. Jung warned that this type of unconscious attachment often leads to disappointment, as the person we are in love with is not the person we imagine them to be. The more we project our own inner world onto them, the less we are able to truly see them as they are. This creates a disconnect between what we think love is and what it actually entails. A deep, mutual understanding of each other's flaws, vulnerabilities, and strengths. Another aspect of the unconscious trap in love is the tendency to choose partners who reflect the unresolved conflicts or unmet needs from our past. Jung suggested that many of us are drawn to relationships that mirror the dynamics of our early childhood experiences, whether it be with our parents, siblings, or other formative figures. These unresolved emotional issues can play out in our romantic relationships, often in ways that we are not consciously aware of. For instance, someone who grew up in an environment where love was conditional might unconsciously seek out a partner who reinforces that belief, perpetuating a cycle of emotional pain and disappointment. Jung's perspective on love invites us to question the nature of our romantic choices and to reflect on how much of our love lives are shaped by unconscious factors. Are we truly choosing our partners based on who they are? Or are we simply projecting our own unmet needs and unhealed wounds onto them? To break free from the unconscious trap of love, Jung believed that self-awareness and integration were essential. By understanding the unconscious patterns that influence our behavior, we can begin to make more conscious and authentic choices in love. Only then can we truly embrace love for what it is, a dynamic, evolving connection that is not about fulfilling fantasies, but about growing together, accepting each other's flaws, and building a deeper, more genuine bond. In today's fast-paced world, where relationships are often approached with a consumer mentality, it's easy to overlook the importance of introspection in love. But if we are to create relationships that are truly fulfilling, we must first look inward, acknowledging the unconscious forces at play and striving to engage in love from a place of authenticity and understanding. Jung's work reminds us that love is not just an external pursuit. It is a journey into the depths of our own psyche, where we must confront our own projections, desires, and emotional wounds in order to experience love in its truest form. In the modern age, we find ourselves caught in a paradox. The more we crave genuine connection, the more we fear the very thing that would make such connections possible: commitment. This fear of commitment is not new, but it has become more pronounced in recent times, especially as society increasingly celebrates individualism, freedom, and the pursuit of personal happiness. We want to be loved, to form deep relationships, yet we often hesitate to fully invest in them, fearing that doing so will limit our autonomy or lead to disappointment. The tension between our desire for connection and our fear of commitment has become one of the most significant obstacles to sustaining meaningful relationships in today's world. This paradox is deeply ingrained in the way we approach love and relationships. We have been conditioned to believe that true love should feel effortless, that the perfect partner is someone who will fit seamlessly into our lives, meeting all our needs without forcing us to make any significant changes. This expectation of effortless connection can be traced to the idealized portrayals of love in the media, where romantic relationships are often depicted as smooth, effortless, and free of conflict. We are led to believe that if a relationship is truly right, it will come without struggle, without requiring work, sacrifice, or growth. The truth, however, is far more complicated. Real love requires effort. It demands vulnerability, compromise, and a willingness to face discomfort in order to grow together. Commitment in this sense is not about finding a partner who meets all of our expectations or who will make our lives easier, but about choosing someone to build a life with, despite their imperfections and the inevitable challenges that will arise. Love is about accepting the fact that no one is perfect, and that relationships are not a seamless journey but a shared path of mutual growth and understanding. The fear of commitment often arises because we believe that settling for someone means settling for less than perfect, when in reality, the imperfect nature of a relationship is precisely what makes it meaningful and real. In the modern world, where the pressure to find the perfect partner is overwhelming, many people are paralyzed by their own unrealistic expectations. Dating apps and social media have only amplified this sense of perfectionism, where we can endlessly scroll through potential partners, each one presenting an idealized version of themselves. But the more we search for perfection, the more we risk missing out on the beauty of real, flawed, and imperfect connections. The fear of commitment often becomes a defense mechanism against facing the vulnerability required to truly love and be loved. It shields us from the pain of disappointment and the discomfort of intimacy, but it also keeps us from experiencing the depth and richness of true love. Ultimately, the failure of many modern relationships can be traced back to this very fear. As long as we approach love with the expectation that it will be free of conflict or discomfort, we set ourselves up for failure. The reality of love is that it involves both joy and pain, growth and setbacks, intimacy and distance. By avoiding commitment, we avoid the very process that allows love to deepen and endure. The question we must ask ourselves is, are we willing to face our fears, accept imperfection, and choose commitment despite the uncertainties. Only then can we begin to build relationships that are not only fulfilling, but also sustainable in the long run. In the end, the true challenge of modern relationships is not about finding the perfect partner, but about being willing to commit, to face our fears of vulnerability, and to embrace the imperfections that make love not just possible, but profound. Love, when approached with this mindset, becomes less about avoiding the risk of disappointment and more about embracing the richness of connection that comes from fully investing in each other. In a world where love often seems like a fleeting, transactional experience, the question arises: how can we navigate the complexities of modern relationships and cultivate connections that are authentic, meaningful, and enduring? The answer, though not simple, lies in the willingness to change our perspective on love and to embrace practices that honor the depth, vulnerability, and patience that real love requires. It is easy to become discouraged by the challenges that modern love presents, but by approaching relationships with intention and self-awareness, we can create bonds that transcend the superficial and stand the test of time. One of the most important steps in cultivating a deeper, more authentic form of love is self-awareness. Before we can truly love another person, we must first understand ourselves. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of knowing our own unconscious patterns, desires, and emotional wounds, as these will inevitably influence how we relate to others. In the context of love, self-awareness allows us to break free from the unconscious projections that often distort our relationships. When we know ourselves, our fears, our insecurities, and our needs, we can engage with others in a way that is grounded in reality, rather than in the illusions that we so often create. The key is to build relationships from a place of authenticity, where we are not seeking to fill an inner void or to fix past wounds, but are instead approaching love as a shared journey of mutual growth. Patience is another essential quality in navigating modern love. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, we are often conditioned to expect quick results in every aspect of our lives, including relationships. We want to feel the spark of attraction, the excitement of new love, and the thrill of connection right away. However, real love takes time to develop. It requires the willingness to invest in the slow, sometimes painful process of getting to know another person deeply. True intimacy is not built in a matter of days or weeks, but over months and years, as we learn to trust, compromise, and grow together. By allowing relationships to unfold at their own pace, we give ourselves the opportunity to build something lasting, rather than rushing to find immediate satisfaction. Furthermore, we must learn to accept imperfection, both in ourselves and in others. In the age of social media and online dating, it is easy to idealize the concept of love and to seek out a partner who ticks all the boxes on our list of expectations. However, this pursuit of perfection often leads to disappointment and disillusionment. True love does not require perfection. It requires a willingness to embrace the flaws and vulnerabilities of both ourselves and our partners. When we accept that love is not about finding someone who meets every need or expectation, but about building a relationship where both people can grow and evolve together, we create a foundation that is much stronger and more enduring. At the heart of authentic love is the willingness to be vulnerable. Love, in its truest form, involves a certain level of risk, a willingness to open ourselves up to another person and expose our deepest fears, desires, and insecurities. Vulnerability is not about weakness, but about the courage to be seen for who we truly are. It is through this openness that deep connections are formed, as we create spaces where both partners can be their authentic selves without fear of judgment or rejection. This vulnerability fosters trust, intimacy, and a sense of shared humanity, all of which are essential for building strong, lasting relationships. Finally, it is important to remember that love is not a destination, but a journey. There is no perfect endpoint where everything aligns and love becomes effortless. Instead, love is an ongoing process of learning, growing, and adapting together. Every relationship will have its challenges, its moments of doubt, and its periods of discomfort. But it is through these challenges that we are given the opportunity to deepen our connection and to build a love that is truly meaningful. The path forward in love, then, is not about seeking perfection or avoiding difficulty, but about embracing the full range of human experience and committing to grow together in the face of it. In the end, the most important thing we can do in the modern world is to approach love with an open heart, a willingness to grow, and a deep respect for both ourselves and our partners. By fostering self-awareness, patience, acceptance, and vulnerability, we can move beyond the limitations of the commodified, liquid love of modern times and create relationships that are grounded in authenticity, connection, and lasting fulfillment. Love may be more challenging in today's world, but it is also more possible than ever, provided we are willing to approach it with the depth and intention it deserves. And so, we come to the end of our journey through the complexities of modern love. As we've seen, love in today's world demands more than just a desire for connection. It requires self-awareness, patience, and above all, the courage to embrace vulnerability and the challenges that come along the way. While modern relationships may seem more complicated than we'd like, they also offer a unique opportunity for growth and transformation, if we're willing to invest in them authentically and deeply. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep exploring the fascinating world of love and relationships, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the videos we share here every day. Also, if you're interested in diving deeper into this topic and want to explore some great books about love, be sure to check out the link in the description and the pinned comment.